So, welcome Peter and Jan. And today I guess you'll tell us a little bit about how to be anti-fragile. I'd like to play on words.
That's totally correct. And welcome to the audience. It's good to see you here. I know das Wochenende steeds voor die tour, but you're still here. Excellent. So, Jan, are you ready?
Good as me. Okay, let's get started.
Let me introduce you to my colleague Jan de Baere. He's from Belgium. He is a coach, a trainer, and he's already 20 plus years in IT. He has more than 10 years experience in Agile, and I do know one of his favorites is scaling Agile. Okay?
Yep. Thank you very much, Peter. This is Peter. Let me present him briefly. He is, as me, we are colleagues, so he's also a trainer, coach, and a speaker. And he even has more years experience than I have. And he's a visual facilitator, and I envy him for that because I'm not able to do that as good as he can. And his focus is international, so he travels a lot.
Cool. What are we going to talk over?
We didn't invent a damn thing. Yeah, we just took a book that we find very interesting. And what I typically do when I find something very interesting, I give a lecture about it. So that forces me to dive deeper. Yeah, that forces me to dive deeper so I understand better. It's about anti-fragile things that gain from disorder. And it's good, it's a book from Nassim Nicolas Taleb. And his first bestseller, it's a management bestseller, and his first bestseller was actually The Black Swan. We'll come back to that. But
yeah.
First of all, let's what is anti-fragile? Yeah. Let's demonstrate. It's not a known concept. So let's start with something that is known. Let's start with fragile. Can you stand up there, please?
I can.
We all know things that are fragile. This is fragile. I'm not going to do it, but if I would drop it, chances that it would break our bond. Okay? So that's fragile. We all know. What would be the opposite of fragile?
Solid.
Solid.
Sounds good.
Robust. So,
Stable.
sorry?
Stable.
Something stable. A rubber ball. This is the space of stability, robustness. It's whatever I do with it, I can drop it, I can stamp on it, nothing happens to it. It is indifferent to whatever it happens to it. Okay?
You can also change the floor underneath the glass.
So, what is anti-fragile? If this thing, it breaks whenever something happens to it, this is the area where whatever you do with it, it doesn't care. Then anti-fragile is not neutral, but it gains from being stressed. What would be an example? Peter, can I use you?
You can?
Can I show your muscles? Oh. Peter's muscles, it's okay. Peter's muscles, when they're not stressed, they weaken. They will get stronger the more they are stressed, up to a certain limit. Yeah. If I stress them a little bit over their capacity, they will grow. They will need recuperation, and then I can stress them again. The things that gain by disorder, by being stressed, it needs to be stressed. That's the concept of anti-fragile. Okay? So that's the concept.
Cool. Okay, concept is clear to me.
What is important to know, he started, Nicolas Taleb, he started his journey with the Black Swan. And what is a Black Swan? Black Swan is an event that happens that is very unlikely to happen. We know white swans, but we never expect to see a black swan. So black swan is a very unlikely event, but if it happens, it has a tremendous impact. Yeah. Unlikely, but when it happens, it has a tremendous impact. And usually, not always, but usually, we can explain in retrospect. So afterwards we say, yeah, sure, how was it possible not to see it? But that's only afterwards. Up front, it's not possible to see. Okay?
Yeah. Do you have an example?
Absolutely. Let's take a turkey. Yeah? A turkey gets fed. Yeah? It's in its cage and it's with its fellow friends. And up to the day where it's Christmas. At Christmas time, he will meet the black swan. he will be slaughtered. He could not foresee it. He could not foresee it, but the result is quite devastating. Yeah? Okay? Is that clear? This is fragile, of course. This is anti-fragile. So that's a natural continuation of his problem. And a nice example is a vaccination. A vaccination, what is it? You get injected by something that is bad, by a virus, a weak virus. Your body will react by strengthening and being strong enough to when it meets the real virus, the strong virus. Okay? So that's anti-fragile.
Yeah.
Clear?
For me, it's clear. For the audience as well.
Good. You can react.
Let's go to the next step.
It's iterative, so we will repeat a couple of times. So fragile is they need stability. No change, no change. Anti-fragile, they say, let's have it. Let's have it. Fragile, typically, limited known gains. So that we have a gain, but it's limited. And the losses are usually unknown and very large. Yeah? For example, I'm coming from Belgium, and I had to organize my trip over here. So I had to order my trip to the airport, then an airplane, and then a train, and then Peter came to pick me up. So I had to plan everything up front. Now, if this is my estimated time of arrival, and this is the variability, so I come in early, my gain, the chance that I'm coming in early is quite limited, right? On the other hand, the fact that if I come too late, how much? Could be hours, could be weeks, could be months even, yeah?
Jan, tell me the truth. Yesterday, you were flying Lufthansa.
Yep.
What happened in Brussels?
Oh. My alarm did not go off. Then I managed to be in time because I had a buffer. Took the car, I took my coffee with me because I could not have breakfast, so I had something, and at that moment the coffee was coming out on my shirt that I was wearing. I was supposed to be wearing today. The shirt was messed up, and I said, okay, what more can happen? I arrive at the airport, flight cancelled. That was all before 8 o'clock.
So that's a good
Very
example.
fragile.
Very fragile, indeed.
But with enough buffer, I could make it robust. Robust, you win some, you lose some. Nothing very exciting. Anti-fragile is the opposite. You have limited known losses. You have losses, but typically they're limited, and your gains are unforeseeable big. I'll let you think for a couple of seconds so you can try to imagine. I think you know all her. Okay? The lady, her mother passed away, if I remember well, and what could happen? Well, neutral, nothing. I mean, I just do my thing and nothing happens. I get rejected by the jury. So the pain, it could be worse than that, so the pain is known and limited. But the gain, she could never have foreseen, and nobody could have foreseen that. Afterwards, it's easy to say, yeah, I mean, if you sing like that, I mean, no, it's unforeseeable. Yeah? So the gains are writing a blog, yeah? Writing a book, giving out a piece of music. Yeah? The gain, the investment is known. What you get back, you cannot foresee.
Even better, Jan, standing here, doing this, it's fun.
Yeah.
Let's see what it brings. Okay, sounds interesting. I understand this concept.
What goes with this is people who try to install this and people who try to install that. It's personalities. And in the book he calls it fragilista and anti-fragilista. A fragilista is somebody who hates disorder, and he says, I'm going to create order by trying to stabilize the environment, to make sure that I make interventions so everything is stable. Yeah, as stable as possible. The anti-fragilista, it sees stability by embracing challenge and randomness. So he's going to listen to the environment and see, okay, what happens? And he's going to try to react with that and to play with that. How can you, I mean, somebody knows fragilistas in his job?
They're not here. Huh?
Yeah. Typically, what I hear is, you cannot change them. They do not know any better. They do not know. Well, they do know. Especially the higher up in the hierarchy, the better they know anti-fragility, even if they behave like fragilistas. Yeah? And even the things that are more important than just work, namely their own money. It's a little trick I use. If somebody who tries to control everything and wants to plan out everything up front, I ask them, okay, if you go to the bank and you give your own money to the banker and you say, please give me more added value as possible. And the second thing is, it needs to be, because my money is important, I need to see that you're in control. So please give me a plan that I can follow up to see that you're in control. If you say that, you will know which kind of products the bank will sell you. Very low value products. Yeah? But it's plannable, it's stable, and it's very predictable. The higher up in the hierarchy, they do not do these kind of products, they go for these kind of products. And you don't ask your banker, please give me a plan, 3 months, 6 months, with KPIs and stuff like that to see how my stocks are going to move. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. So everybody knows this. Everybody knows this. If you want to create added value, the more risk, the more added value you want to have, the more you have to be in this mode. And it's not plannable or predictable. Make sense?
Jan, volatility. What does it mean? How can we use this?
Volatility, it's a lot about volatility. And volatility is quite simple. If this is a stock price, about $100, then it's clear that the dark is more volatile than the other one. Okay? So it moves a lot more, even if it's around the same thing. Another example would be, I can take you out on a trip on the moon, and on the moon the average temperature is minus 30 degrees. That's very cold, but still doable. But we all know the real information is not the average temperature. The main information is the difference between the part that is in the sun and the part that is not in the sun. So the real information is in the what they call the secondary information, secondary order. It's not this that is important, it's the variability, the variance, the possible variance that is important. Think about your projects. What is most important? The end date of your project or the fact that it can vary a lot? As a product owner, you might be interested in knowing how much it can vary instead of knowing the exact end date. Okay? I think, okay, practical example. This is, I presume everybody knows a little bit of Kanban. Yeah. So here we have, this is the flow, we have 3 kinds of things we work on, 3 kinds of tasks. This is request for change. It used to be 40 days, and it still is 40 days. And in the beginning, it was very variable. It was 40 could vary, it could double. 40 could be 80. Yeah. After working with the team a while, it was brought back to 5 days, which pleased the customer very much. Although the average time of delivering something remained the same. So that's variability. When the second order is more important than maintenance. That's where fragile and anti-fragile comes into play.
Good. So now we understand the true information is hidden in the volatility. So that question, why is this important for us to understand? What makes the difference?
What I see at companies is that more and more we are asked to do more with less. Yeah, I guess that's recognizable. We have to do more with less. If you want to do the same thing, but just a little bit more, you will try to push the boundaries, you will try to work a little bit harder, work a little bit faster, and maybe get some waste out of the system. Yeah? What you should know is that when doing that, probably you're paying cash in terms of risk. The risk of meeting a black swan becomes bigger. I see a lot of companies where there's only one guy that is knowledgeable about this, and this system. And then I go to the other team, and then they say there's only one guy that we want to optimize and optimize and optimize, and we pay cash in risk. Because this is all about risk. It's about risk management. How not to get fragile. Yeah. So that is why it is important. And another one is, it's a VUCA world. I think we all know VUCA. Volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. Before it was all about stability, now it's all moving faster and faster. We don't know what is coming our way. Okay? So the more we have volatility, the more we have uncertainty and complexity, the more we will be hit by black swans. So it's about time that you learn to deal with black swans and how we can do about it. And that's what the book is about.
Good, because this is getting interesting now. So we had a little bit of the theory. Now I want to see, okay, when can I use it?
Okay. It's like Agile, it's not applicable everywhere. So when is it important? According to the book, you have two worlds. You have mediocre stand and you have extreme stand. Mediocre.
Sorry?
I didn't hear that before.
Yeah, this is in Germany, somewhere.
I know.
Does it mean something in German?
No. The question was if this was your. I never seen it.
Oh, it's in the book.
It's from
yeah,
the book.
it's from the Black Swan and from.
I see.
Nothing is invented.
Yeah, I see.
And if it is, I will tell.
Take us on a journey.
Yeah.
Explain to us.
Mediocre stand is the Gauss curve. Yeah. So you have outliners, but they're limited. For example, the height of people. It is impossible to be extremely outside of the stuff. You will not meet people of 10 meters big. No? Yeah? So you will always be within certain limits. Yeah? Mediocre stand. So if you want to have, the most important thing is this one. Where's the center? In extremistan, it's the opposite. There you could have, that's a world where the outliners, not the majority, but the outliners have the biggest impact. For example, in this example, it is the return of stock. So you have the normal curve, but then you have some outliners that really, if you missed one of these, you missed the whole point. For example, income, if you would look at what is the income in Mexico, and you miss one guy, you missed half of the income of Mexico. Yeah. So if you miss one instance, can outperform all the rest easily. Book sales. If you miss out Harry Potter, you miss the whole thing.
Small issue.
Yeah. So one outliner or a couple of outliners. So the most important things are in the extremes. Extreme stand. Like really two different worlds. So, sorry, the most important thing, it's here that fragile and anti-fragile is important. Because these are black swans. It can be positive or they can be negative. These are the black swans. Here, a black swan would be somebody from 20 meters tall. But that will never happen in this world. In this world, it happens. In this world, fragile and anti-fragile is important.
Okay, so we have been talking through theory, we have explained the concepts. We truly hope it's clear. You get the idea. What we would like to do now is give some examples and map these to your day-to-day activities. We are all working in Agile world, so we do think these examples will be useful for you. I would say let's move on.
Yeah.
Workshop here means we are
Yeah.
interested in your thoughts. What's this?
Okay, the first thing that you need to know is you cannot measure it, but it's relative. So you can see something is more anti-fragile than something else. So it's important to know that. So I would like to ask 3 volunteers to come over. Quick.
It's
Just
going to
come,
be
just
swift, painless.
What did I commit to?
Nothing yet. Can I Chinese volunteer? Okay. We have 3 myths. We have the rise of the phoenix, we have the sword of Damocles, and we have Hydra. So whatever happens, Phoenix always re-rises. The poor guy gets a lot of food, good life, but he knows that something is coming. And here, Hydra, whenever the head is chopped, 2 heads will come into place. Yeah. So we want to order, it's a warming up, we want to order them. So can you please just stand in random order? Over here, one over there, one over there, one over there. We want to put them in the right order. So what I would like to do is just put your hands up, and if I say, for example, this person, and you want him to go to there, then you say, you do this, okay? He's Democrats. So put your arms up. If you say he wants to stay, remain like this, he must go to the right, this is to the left.
Where is what? Where is anti-fragile?
For you, in your direction. The
Yeah.
direction you're looking.
But where's fragile and where's anti-fragile?
Sorry. This is fragile, robust, anti-fragile. So the sword of Damocles, is that more? I see to the left, I see to the right.
3 left, 3 right.
Yeah. Maybe somebody can explain.
I think it's fragile because the loss would be the life of the person lying under the sword. So it's total loss, so it's close to unlimited loss.
Yeah.
This is fragile category.
Somebody who said. Sorry?
I think he's on the right place.
He's on the right place. Eh? So he can stay. Hydra. See people? Remain.
2, 3,
Yeah.
3 saying to the left, this way. Yeah.
And then you have to. Yeah. Is this correct? Or somebody wants to still move something? Yeah.
I would move Mr. Phoenix.
That's me.
Yes. He's less fragile because he regenerates.
So they're quite in order. So he's on the place of robustness. So that means robust. Whatever happens,
Yeah. Okay, then.
it doesn't get harmed.
Yeah, that's cool.
So the sword of Damocles, he has a good life. He gets rich food and clothes, but he knows that. So the gain is limited. He knows what he gains, and it's known, but it's quite deadly. Yeah.
This is a smart guy. Because what happens is, you chop off a head, you get 2 back. That's a good trade, right?
So you don't want to disturb him.
Pay once, get 2.
Okay, then it's yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Fragile, robust, anti-fragile.
Right.
Okay.
Cool. May they sit down or do you
Yeah,
want to
please.
keep them?
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay.
We'll skip this one.
Yeah. So, strategies. Monday, in the office, you're going to use these, I hope.
Yeah.
Jan, make them happy.
So it's good to know the concept, but how to become more anti-fragile. Well, the main thing maybe is to know that you don't become anti-fragile by knowing more about the future. That's what typically we want to do, try to predict the future. No, it's about how you become anti-fragile by knowing, by being more ready for the future. How can you become more ready for the future? Yeah. A lot of things will sound very familiar because agile is quite anti-fragile. The first thing is to have options.
And you like this picture, right?
Cool. We always get this kind of reaction, I don't know why, but it's about having options. I mean, if you do not have one single option, you cannot change your course. So whatever happens, you must go in the same direction. The more options you have, the more you can choose and navigate. So having options. An example, this is a Gantt chart. It's planned up front, we have the everything estimated and counted. And here we have a Kanban board, and we see that this is quite mechanical. If you would see it over time, it would just become green a little bit, if everything goes all right. In here, you will see it's more like a living system. It changes all the time, and it goes up and down, and it changes. Yeah. Does this make sense? If something happens that is unforeseen, then this will break a lot faster than this. Okay? I see not everybody is agree. That's good.
Yeah.
Then we have a discussion.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe good to know from the fragile mechanical to have all these dependencies. So if you start scratching in the beginning on the left-hand side, you know, it will fumble all the way down in the future. That's the main. Okay.
Do you remember? I mean, I used to have Gantt charts as well as a project, and I remember when I was playing around. Sometimes when I did some small things, it exploded. My project was 3 times the size. You don't know what happens, and it just blows up. Yeah. And it happens in reality as well. One resource is taken away, and it's done. Yeah. That's fragile.
Yep.
I don't agree, because the pictures, it's just a different way on looking at things. And it's not a matter if we use a Kanban board or a Gantt chart if we are in mechanical or living system world. We could, at least theoretically, be in a living system and still using Gantt charts. We just don't find them as useful. That's the reason why we don't use it. So it's like inherent, like it's like behind the picture when you're actually talking. That's why I'm not really like getting the point where you want to go. Okay, it's not the fault of the Gantt chart to be mechanical. It's the way that the person is using the Gantt chart, that is the way he's thinking that works.
Absolutely.
The assumption he does.
It's the mindset of how you use it. That's completely correct. Yeah.
Because it's still very important to take care of all the implications, even in that world.
Absolutely.
And that's a mistake we sometimes do in the agile world. We just say, well, it's easy. We just use like post-its, and then we all solve all problems.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's not that.
Yeah.
What I assume, but maybe I should have said that it's the whole mindset. So here you have specialization, and here you have T-shaped profiles.
Okay. Yeah. I can agree with that.
It's not only. It's correct. Maybe I should.
Yeah. One more question.
Coming to the previous slide, not taking it literally, but sometimes I think that we make it too easy for us in the software development IT world to say, hey, this world is VUCA, and I don't know, we just also play this game, and then we get to this not being non-predictable and non-reliable to our partners. No matter if it's other vendors we're working with, partners, customers, whatever it may be. And that way, we are raising the complexity dynamic spiral with unnecessary complexity, because it comes from us, from our own actions, and not from the way we react on.
It's like
this is a dangerous spiral in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. It's like we're talking from different layers. Huh? So if you're talking managerial versus developers, at development we are used to talking to the post-it stuff. Managers, they have not made the switch yet, mostly, to post-its. They think in a different way, and we do forget to update them on what are we really going to achieve, and speak also in their language to make it visible what we're going to do.
I'm not sure if I can connect to what I've
Okay.
said.
Yeah.
I mean, for example, 40 days is quite predictable. And working on, the previous slide, that it's 5 days. You work towards predictability, at least in effort. Okay, but that's maybe not the main point we want to talk about now. So the aim is that we have options, so we can choose. The aim, as I'm told 10 years ago, you have a plan and you follow it. And the plan should remain. That's the ideal. Well, here it is, no, you're ready for change, you're ready for to reprioritize all the time. It's made for that. That is not made to be adapted every day.
Good.
One addition, according to Taleb's idea of options, the main game to become anti-fragile from the options theory is not that you have various options to choose from, but that options limit your losses. That's the main point. That's exactly what when I use Taleb's ideas in projects, most people get wrong. They try to generate a lot of options, but the idea is that I need only in many situations only one option to limit my losses to a known level instead of generating hundreds of options which make it hard to choose from which is the right one.
The plan B. Plan B.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not my understanding of Taleb's idea and his thesis about options is not to have such a plan B, but to work always in every decision that I take, that I generate a bottom limit for my losses. What he has shown in this one diagram where the gains are unlimited.
Yeah. Because that for me is the whole idea of anti-fragile. Is you limit your losses and your upside is and you can do that by, for example, using options.
This is one possibility, and that's where the idea of agile comes in, because what I can do with agile projects, I can limit my losses because I can always stop this project. And maybe I have generated some kind of value until then. That's what's, in my view, connect these both ideas perfectly together.
Yeah.
Where you limit your losses by doing experiments. So the loss is limited to the length of one sprint, and the gain is limitless because you can win new
But I don't have
insights,
second sprint.
which will then give you an idea of if you want to proceed or not, or in which direction you want to proceed.
So the thing is that you have little things that could be of value, and then they contain with, while this, the waterfall mindset, you only have something valuable at the very end. And that's where he also uses options. But, I mean, it's only 30 minutes, 1 hour, so we will not cover everything. But thanks for the...
Yeah.
Another one is hormesis. It's hormesis is like the vaccination. You do something bad in order to strengthen. That's what you also do when you work out. When you do push-ups or whatever, you push beyond your limits just a little bit, so you get stressed, so your body will react and will become stronger. So the next time you will be stronger and could push it a little bit further. Okay? So that's the idea of hormesis. Apply stress to the system continuously so that we are forced to simplify, homogenize, and automate. That's the idea. Don't forget to recuperate as well. So that's one of the things that we do. And I did a little of checkup, and this is the thing that is used the most in software development. When I looked around at other presentations of anti-fragile, it was all about this. In architecture, in design, in development, it was mostly about this. 2 examples, Google and Amazon game days, what they do is they simulate destruction of data center and critical production system during peak period times. You don't do that without any preparation. I mean, you need to build up strength. You stress a little bit. This only shows how much work they have been doing, how much push-ups they have been doing in their systems to make them anti-fragile. And every time something happens to their systems, they learn, so they get stronger. Yeah? What a contrast with most of the companies I see, where they hardly dare to, in the weekends, to do the disaster recovery plan, and only during period of time, and even then, very, very, because it could break. Yeah, that is fragile. That's a proof that you're fragile. Yeah. Another known is Netflix with their chaos monkeys, just agents that they break randomly stuff. Just to see how the system will react, so we can build up some force to get when something really happens that we could not foresee, because that's always the aim. We try to be ready for the things we cannot foresee. Be ready for the future. Not foresee the future, but be ready. They're a lot more ready than most of the companies, at least I know.
And they do this in production.
It's in production, absolutely, absolutely. Anybody doing that already?
The customers.
If it hurts, stress it a little bit. Don't stress too much. Don't try to do that. Start at your own level. Stress a little bit, learn and recover. When you recovered, stress a little bit more. And so on and so on. It's like a workout. It's not more or less than that. And remember, it's a risk stuff. It's risk management. Good. I'm looking at the time.
Yeah, we still have a few minutes to go.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
So, move on or?
Yeah, let's move on. So, what's this?
This is another strategy. It's barbell. Instead of having one strategy, having two strategies with extremes. The example from the book is that if you want to invest money and you say, I'm moderately risky. So you're not going to buy moderately risky stocks or actions because your upside is quite limited. Yeah, what you will gain, it's not risky, so that you will not gain a lot. But the downside, it's still an action, so you can still lose everything. Yeah, so don't do that. If you want to combine two things, for example, you say 90% of my money I will put under my mattress or something, with no risk at all. There's no inflation anyway. And the other part, the 10% that remains, I do it with very high risk, very, very dynamic. Because the more volatile that is, the more I can gain. My downside, it's always the same principle. My downside is 10% max. My upside, I don't know. And the more volatile it is, the better, because I have more chance of receiving more. In practice,
yeah,
you don't have to agree with the things we come up. I hear, yeah, we don't have time to do all these kinds of stuff, and it's just too time consuming. Well, what I see a lot is to protect your core, do all the stuff, all the things that will make it anti-fragile. On one hand, and on the other, don't do the just regular stuff, but the all kind stuff, the very, very cheap, with no additional stuff, do it for the non-core stuff. So you have two different parts. And together, it's more anti-fragile than just having moderately trying to do something in program. Thoughts?
Anyone familiar with mob program?
I think the hard question here is how to distinguish those two.
That is the hard question. Yeah.
I think what I can imagine, it's difficult. So far, I quite often try to establish a mindset of quality and whatever in code. And now you would say to the people, okay, split your mindset. This mindset that we talked about the last 2 years is about the core code, and forget everything what we talked about for this 10%. And I think this could be quite difficult to don't disturb the entire mindset.
Yeah. So, yeah, I do understand you have invested a lot of time and energy in getting these people into the right mindset, and now you're confusing them again. Yeah. And you have a question. So
just if I can respond. Absolutely right. So the thing is, if they didn't do anything yet because it's too costly and you're not allowed to, because this could be a way to get through to them. To say, okay, at least we can try to do it at the core. And the moment they start seeing the value, then you can expand it. But just to break through the wall, that's the idea.
Gentleman in an orange t-shirt.
I think the point is that TDD has like no loss, so we have limited investment here. So if you apply and if you start going with TDD, for example, here, then do it in those areas where the use is the biggest. And this means like in parts of the code that hurt you the most, they break. And I agree that in a single team environment, this would be a very difficult approach. But if you think of 5 teams, then you might start with the one that is closest to core code, ideally, to actually get these practices going, and then they might be a role model for the other teams to actually solve it on the other side as well.
The way I explain TDD usually is to managers. Then I say TDD is like double accounting. You do the same thing twice if it needs to be right. And if you know one accountant that says, I will gain half of your budget for doing accounting, we skip the double accounting and we do the single accounting, he will get kicked out because it's not a professional. But in programming, we allow it to say, oh, just do it. Just do it. If it has to be right, then you need something like this. All anti-fragile systems have redundancy, because this is redundancy. Eh? All anti-fragile systems have redundancy. A body, 2 lungs, 2 eyes, 2 ears. Everything comes in pairs. There's redundancy. There's no possibility to be anti-fragile without any redundancy. So that's people who do the lean stuff a little bit too far or in the wrong way, you just get fragile. Good. Other comments or ideas that go into the same strategy? Because that was the aim that you told about strategies that you apply that could fit into this other examples, so to say. Anybody?
I would say maybe that the TDD would be like the insurance. Like if you can afford losing it, probably you don't have to do that. Like, do you have insurance for your mobile? Not really. It's not for fake. You can just buy a new one if you break it, right? So it's like those features that you can afford losing for a certain time, not all the data, are probably the ones that are non-core.
Make sense? Or comments or other ideas?
Nope. Okay.
Via negativa. We live in a complex world, the VUCA world, more and more complexity. His idea is you cannot lower complexity by adding something. Complexity is only lowered if you remove stuff. If you want to do something about your health, instead of taking pills, try to stop things that are bad for your body. Yeah? One of the things I read, I think yesterday, if you try to pursue happiness, for example, don't try to pursue happiness, it doesn't work anyway, but try to remove all the things that do not make you happy. Yeah?
Except the pills.
Eh?
Except the pills. Right.
Via negativa. I have a very simple example. I hope you have better and more. You have the complex Excels that will calculate how much and estimate whatever. What we like to do, for example, is in the agile world is these kind of estimations, you know, a lot simpler. You remove stuff rather than trying to have complex models to estimate. Go for the simple things. In his first book, he explains quite extensively how this makes you the simple estimation models are better predictors than the complex ones. Other examples of removal, the government, for example. The government always adds legislation, never removes. So it gets almost more complex. If you want to fight complexity, remove. Other other examples in your area? Or where you could apply it, maybe you don't do it right now.
But, I mean, your example with government and also this Excel sheet, isn't it This is not complexity in my view, it's adding complicatedness. So bureaucracy is complicatedness, not complexity.
Yeah, that's right.
Complexity is just there.
Yeah, yeah. Remove complicatedness, if that's the right word. Lower the complicatedness.
That's complicated.
Yeah.
For example, typically what happens if you go into a process, to the process guys, and you want to introduce agile, they say, okay, let's add additional rules and regulations. So we have a new set of group of people that have other rules, and we have just add on that. No, remove.
Yeah. But if you can slice it up and slice it down, it's complicated. In my view.
Yeah.
No, I like it the way you say it. Okay. Jan, what else do we have?
I think exactly in this area of estimations, complexity could also happen. If you say, for example, okay, I don't need only these story points or Fibonacci stuff, I need an Excel sheet where I, besides, note down the risk, the kind of risk, the number of involved systems, the amount of people that are involved and everything. So this makes it complex, not only complicated, because when I try to fulfill all these things, it's not possible to think through it entirely.
Mm-hmm.
But if I want to fulfill it, I can't do it, I think. Yeah. And here I say the story points, okay, and this I can handle roughly right, in the other way I'm exactly wrong.
True. Very true.
One of the things in the area of estimations is that in a complex world you cannot aggregate. So if you're estimating the estimations of your teams, you don't count them all up and then say that that's the effort of a feature, and you count them all up and then that's the effort of an epic. That doesn't work. It doesn't add up.
Let's move on, yeah?
Yes, I have no idea how much time we still have.
15 minutes.
Oh, okay, we go.
What's this?
You know this one?
Yeah, I do know. I do know. I was in a hotel this morning, and I had my egg, and I had my bacon. But I think all the audience, they have seen this cartoon, because this is so famous. So what you're trying to tell is just get the person on board, get them involved, and make sure they feel responsible.
Yep. In Agile, it's quite simple. What we do is we try to have cross-functional teams that are working together, that are all in the same boat. So they're all at the same level of involvement. It's not like they threw it over the wall and then I did my job. Other examples you can think about: skin in the game, so making sure that people are involved, because if you're not involved,
Sports teams.
Yep, you all win together. Other examples within your area of profession, let's say.
Nope.
Everybody? Okay. He's quite harsh on academics. Our friends tell it. And one of the things, if you know it,
Yeah, he knows.
so you don't have to play. So knowledge can make you fragile. Knowledge can make you fragile. I said, when I heard that, I said, that's bullshit. Yeah. And then he gives the example, and he says, you've been just on a holiday, or I hope you did, and let's say you see something on somebody on the street, and he's tossing a coin to make money. Yeah, he's tossing a coin. And he flips the coin, and you're watching it from the side, and you see that 20 times in a row, he flips the coin, and it's 20 times in a row ahead. Okay, 20 times in a row. So the question is, if he throws up the 21st time, what is the chance that he will hit head again?
50%.
50%. Somebody else?
If it's a perfect coin, it's 50%.
Can I show a show of hands? This is 0%, 20, 40, 60, 80. 100% sure that it's 50. So on the count of 3, you show your hand. If you're 100% sure, you say this. If you say it's bullshit, you do this.
Well, yes and no. I would assume that there is a trick here anyway.
Sure, because otherwise I would not tell it, but just for
No,
the...
for the situation.
Eh?
I see that 20 times happens
Yeah.
the same, which
Yeah.
is not obvious knowledge, so to say. So I would start thinking that the obvious is not what really happens. That there is a gap between what I see and what really happens. No? Yes?
Yeah, what you see is a guy tossing your coins 20 times, the 21st time, the question is how many chances you have that he hits head again.
Question is, does it have head on both sides?
No, it's
No, it's not that
we
bad.
checked and there's both sides. Okay, show of hands. 50% for sure. Okay. We say it's 50% and we're damn sure. I mean, the vast majority said 100% sure it's 50%. Yeah. That's what he means. Why do we say 50%? Because at school they told us it's 50%. And if you did not say 50%, you get a bad grade. Yeah? Theoretically, that's 100% correct. Of course. What is the chance that somebody on the street is trying to rip you off is a lot higher than the fact that the chance that you would see a miracle of tossing 20 times in a row. So that knowledge, because we were trained like that, makes us fragile. If you work 3 days, 3 weeks on a budget, you start to believe that the budget is right. Yeah?
You got the point. Yeah.
Thoughts?
Budget is always right.
Yeah. Sure.
If it's a fixed budget, then that's what you have.
And that coin is always loaded.
So you Simon kind of said it already, that to me this is the difference between the single loop learning, to learn something without keeping the context in mind, and seeing that there is a trick involved, that someone wants to trick us, is seeing the context, and then doing the learning again.
Well, what I think, but maybe you read also the book, what I think he wants to say is that sometimes you think in automatisms because you've learned it, and that makes you fragile because it's fixed. We are sure it's 50%. So we will, what is the chance that we will hit a black swan? It will be better if we are trained to do that. If you would take a street kid that is not educated, he will always say ahead, 100% sure. He already did it 20 times, so 21. And if you're educated, you're fixed in your mind.
Yeah. So the same example, the experience from the marshmallow experiment is also saying that if you start with rational, I don't know, architecture knowledge and whatnot, you will never succeed.
Yeah.
Or at least not in the same way as kids do.
Yeah.
Other examples in the same to apply this?
Well, I would say I also experienced the other way around. I think there is no academic proof that planning projects exactly is a way you can succeed. I think there is no, as far as I know, nobody proved it academically, at least for software projects.
The contrary is proven. The contrary is proven.
The contrary is, yeah, but this, anyhow, it's a strong belief, and people, if you talk to owner managers, they said, yes, in my experience, in former times, we had projects where we could estimate everything on 3% exactly. So this at least the heuristics in the single head had a higher weight than the academic knowledge. So the other way around happens as well.
Yeah. So he's a strong believer for heuristics because he says it's something that has been proven through the years, something you experienced yourself, and you know it's not hard science. So you know it's more or less right. It's not very harsh. It's not exact science. It's a heuristic, no more, no less. So you have some freedom. So you're still looking for the possible black swans, while on the academic knowledge, you're sure. And when you're sure, you can hit a black swan. If you're still open for deviations, then you might see them come.
Jan, I'm afraid we are going towards the end.
Yes. So what do you do with it? How we learned it? Start, first of all, quite passively, start seeing the concept everywhere. For example, when I came over here, I was too late, so I was speeding. What is speeding? I know what my gain is. I will be there 2 minutes earlier. The downside is that I have an accident. It's very unlikely. But if I had an accident, it will outperform all the gains I would ever had by speeding. So just noticing the concept. Limited gain, unlimited losses. Or the inverse, limited losses, unlimited gains. Just start seeing them. With every decision you take, is this making me more fragile or is it making me more anti-fragile? That's something you can do. You can calculate it according to them, but it's a lot easier to say, okay, is this decision going to make me more fragile? Because you can go for the easy win, but at the expense of risk. And then you can start actively using the things that we discussed, like options, Mises, barbell, via negativa. In the book, of course, there are more and more in depth. Just the first that the most important ones we discovered anyway. And another one is give talk and presentations about anti-fragile, because then you learn more about it. Is there anything you wanted to add? I mean, you're clearly also read the book and thought about it. Something you want to add or something you missed out?
I did not miss out anything.
Oh, it's a thick book, you know.
Yeah, but from the theory. What my experience is that the thinking, especially the option thinking, is a perfect match if you have to do decisions, for example, in the area of software architecture.
Yep.
Together with the professor, I'm working on how to adopt the idea of anti-fragility and the real option theory into a framework how to make decisions in software architecture.
Yep.
And the project where we applied it works quite well because we limit the loss of software architecture, which is in the most projects nearly unlimited.
Yeah.
And so I'm a fan of this concept of anti-fragility.
Yeah. That's one of the things I like.
It's good to see that other people think in the same way like I do in the projects.
Especially in architecture, it changed, 180 degrees. I mean, before, in my time, architecture, when I was just at college, robustness was the thing. And now it is, every decision, will it make my system more adaptable? It's the complete opposite. Exactly. Whatever action takes me to be more flexible, having more options in my system.
Exactly, it's the complete opposite. Maybe one more thing. Great example for the via negativa is if you ever try to apply the scale agile framework in a company, the more it starts to work, the more you come closer to the less framework. It's a quite good example. The SAFe has a lot of roles and very many things are regulated in how it should work. And the more you take away from this framework, the closer you come to the idea of the less framework, and the better the company performs regarding the goals of the organization. It's quite, in my opinion, the best example for the via negativa in the agile world.
Yeah. If you can't see any framework anymore and your company still works very well, then...
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, thank you very well.
Thank you.